This axe head has been in a bucket of water for 3 days. Just water and a handful of oak bark shavings from the woodpile. Pull it out and look at that. The rust that was there, that kind of orange flaky surface that eats through everything, is gone. In its place is a dark blue-black coating bonded to the metal at a molecular level. That coating isn't paint. It's not a sealant. It used to be the rust itself. $3 of powder, 45 minutes, and the rust didn't just stop. It became the protection. I'm not going to tell you this is a new discovery. It isn't. Roman legionaries were doing a version of this 2,000 years ago. Japanese bladesmiths discovered it independently. West African ironworkers discovered it independently. Blacksmiths across medieval Europe discovered it independently. Every civilization that worked iron and had forests reached the same conclusion on its own. That kind of convergence doesn't happen by accident. That's chemistry becoming obvious to anyone who pays close attention. The reason you've never heard of it, the global car parts industry generates over $400 billion a year. Roughly $90 billion of that comes from rust damage alone. Replacement panels, brake lines, exhaust systems, suspension components that should have lasted decades. A $3 solution that converts rust and seals the surface beneath it isn't something that industry has any incentive to put on a billboard. So let me show you how it works. You already know this reaction. You've seen it your whole life and simply never had a name for it. That dark stain on your cast iron pan when you cook with acidic foods. That blue-black color on old ironwork that has somehow survived centuries without crumbling away. The ink in a medieval manuscript. Iron gall ink made by reacting iron salts with oak galls that has lasted 800 years on parchment. It's all the same chemistry. Tannin meets iron. They react. Something stable forms. The compound is called tannate, or, in its purified form, tannic acid. It's found in oak bark, chestnuts, tea leaves, grape skins, pomegranate rind. It's the astringent sensation when you drink strong black tea or dry red wine. That slight drying sensation on your tongue. That's tannin binding to proteins. And when tannin meets iron oxide, which is what rust is, the tannin molecules bond with the iron ions and convert them into a new compound called ferric tannate. Blue-black, water-insoluble, bonded directly to the steel surface at a molecular level. It doesn't sit on top of the rust to peel off later. It transforms the rust itself into the protective layer. The disease becomes the cure. That's not a poetic description, it's the chemistry. Formally documented in 1813 by a French chemist named Henri Braconnot. And the Canadian Conservation Institute still publishes it today as a standard procedure for treating corroded iron artifacts. What museums use to protect objects they intend to last for centuries is the same compound you're about to mix in a plastic container for $3. Here is the list of materials. Food-grade tannic acid powder. Search for that exact phrase on Amazon, and it appears in the top 3 results. Bulk Supplements is a reliable brand. A 100-gram bag costs between $3 and $5 and is enough to treat approximately 40 square feet of rusted metal. That's the entire chassis of a truck. A full set of camping tools and you'll still have powder left over. Phosphoric acid, and this is the improvement that most recipes omit. Research published in Advances in Materials Science and Engineering found that the optimal formula is 3% tannic acid combined with 10% phosphoric acid. Phosphoric acid helps the tannin penetrate deeper into the rust layer and converts any remaining rust into ferric phosphate, which is equally stable. It's sold as navel jelly in any hardware shop for $2 or $3. Distilled water, not tap. Tap water contains chloride ions, and chloride accelerates corrosion. A $1 jug from the supermarket, a foam brush or a cotton rag, a wire brush or steel wool for preparation. That's all. The total cost is $3 to $6. Tannic acid on its own still works. The combination works significantly better. Before I walk you through the process, here's how I discovered that this works. I had a bench full of tools that had got out of hand. A pickaxe left out for one too many winters. Trowels with serious surface rust. A draw knife I'd had since my 20s that I didn't feel capable of replacing. I tried the usual things. Wire brushing, WD-40, rust-removing gel straight from the tube. They helped temporarily. 6 months later, the orange returned. I stumbled across the chemistry of tannic acid, mixed a batch, and spent an afternoon going through every rusty tool on that bench. And I wasn't expecting what happened next. It was genuinely satisfying in a way that I didn't anticipate. There is something almost meditative about the process. Applying the solution with the brush, watching the color change from orange to dark gray to blue-black right in front of you. It's slow enough to be relaxing. ASMR before I knew what ASMR was. The silent rubbing of the wire brush. The soft color change occurring while you watch. The smell of the tannin solution. Earthy and slightly sweet like a strong forest tea. Everyone I've spoken to who has done this describes the same thing. There is something deeply satisfying about seeing something broken become whole again right in your hands. That was nearly 12 years ago. The pickaxe is still in the garden shed. The draw knife is on the wall. Not a single one of them has rusted again beyond a light surface patina. I touch up once a season in about 20 minutes. 12 years, $3 of powder in an afternoon. This is how you prepare it. Mix 4G of tannic acid powder in 100 milliliters of warm distilled water. Stir until it dissolves. The solution takes on the color of a strong black tea. Add a teaspoon of rust-removing gel and mix it in. That's your formula. Take your wire brush or steel wool and remove any loose or flaky rust. You don't need to sand to bare metal. In fact, that's the wrong approach. The tannin needs the existing rust to react. Remove what's already detached and prevents good contact. Leave the rest. Apply the solution evenly over the surface. In 10 or 15 minutes, the color changes from orange-brown to dark gray to blue-black. That's the conversion happening in front of you. Ferric tannate forming in real time. Let it dry completely. 2 to 4 hours, then apply a second coat. The Canadian Conservation Institute specifically asked for several thin coats rather than one thick one. Excess ferric tannate can flake. Thin coats completely dry between applications create a denser and more adherent layer. After the second coat cures, finish with whatever best suits the application. For camping tools, axes, knives, hatchets, boiled linseed oil or melted beeswax. For vehicle chassis and undercarriages, rubber undercoating spray. For cast iron cookware, reseasoning in an oven at 175 degrees is normal. Here is what people often get wrong. They expect it to look like paint. It doesn't. It looks like the metal has become darker and slightly metallic. Some people see that and think it hasn't worked. It has. The blue-black finish is the ferric tannate. That is the protection. An honest note, this significantly reduces corrosion. It doesn't make the metal immune under all conditions. In environments with high chloride content, sea air, a lot of road salt, the layer will degrade over time and will need to be reapplied. For most outdoor and camping uses, it's a touch-up once a season that takes 20 minutes using the powder from a bag you bought years ago. Commercial rust converter products from your hardware shop, from $15 to $30 a bottle, list tannic acid as their main active ingredient. Consult the safety data sheet for any of them, and there it is. The same chemistry, different label, 10 to 15 times the price. Now here's the part that keeps spinning in my head. This knowledge was so universal that independent civilizations on 4 continents reached it separately. Roman leatherworkers discovered it by accident in tanning vats and told the blacksmiths. Japanese bladesmiths developed their own version using fermented persimmon juice. West African ironworkers used acacia pods and shea bark before the monsoon season. Iron Age bog bodies have been found in northern Europe with intact iron blades beside them over 1,000 years old. Preserved not by any deliberate treatment, but by the naturally high tannin content of the peat water. At some point in the last 100 years, as the hardware shop aisle filled with branded products, this knowledge stopped being passed down. The old knowledge simply sat on a shelf gathering dust. 100-grain bag in 45 minutes and it's back in your hands. I don't know what brought you here. Perhaps it's the axe head that came back orange from a camping trip. Perhaps it's the truck chassis you've been putting off. Maybe the cast iron pan sitting in the corner of the kitchen since last winter. Maybe you just like knowing how things actually work and ended up here at midnight because of an algorithm you can't explain. It doesn't matter. The rust on anything you're looking at right now isn't a problem waiting for an expensive solution. It's a raw material waiting for the right chemistry. $3, 45 minutes, and the rust gets to work for you. If this story has changed the way you see the tools in your workshop, please subscribe and like the channel. We are unearthing the history they tried to bury. Let's preserve the future. The next treasure will be revealed soon.